Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to another video. Hope you guys been enjoying the content on the channel as of late. It's a bit of a rainy day today. It's actually some clear skies right now, but I just looked at my phone. Might be getting more showers here in a little bit. So a bit of a rainy day, a bit of a rainy week actually, according to some reports I just read. So we're gonna be bearing down here for a little bit. Um, but hopefully I'll get out tomorrow because I do want to check out a film. So hopefully maybe in the next video I'll have a review for you guys, but we shall see. But in the meantime, I want to talk about this because this is something that has been occurring a lot lately. Or recently, this has been like in the past few years, this has been something that's been just, you know, being collected. And I kind of want to address it, especially now given this, which just happened yesterday. So just to give um, kind of a jumping off point. So this actress here, Dasha Nekrasova, I think it's how you say her name. She was apparently on the show Succession, the show on HBO. And apparently, she was fired from her talent agency and removed from a production that she was currently working on. So we're going to read here a little bit. So, according to Variety, Succession actress Dasha Nekrasova has been fired by her talent agency Gersh. A spokesperson has confirmed to Variety. The actress was let go after far-right commentator Nick Fuentes appeared on Nekrasova's podcast Red Scare, which she hosts with Anna Casenya. So on the podcast video uploaded to YouTube on October 10th, which I didn't even know about until I just read that. The hosts discuss Fuentes' rise in popularity, as well as the Charlie Kirk assassination, immigration, Kanye West vaccines, all that stuff. The video received 220,000 views, while a repost had received an additional 69. Fuentes has been criticized, including by some on the right, for being a leader of a certain movement, which may be racist, all this sort of stuff. So, and I guess Nekrasova has made controversial statements in the past. According to a 2023 New Yorker story, she was quoted as saying, "Francis is not the real Pope. We all know it. You're not going to get rid of the Freemasons. You're not going to get rid of the Jews. They infiltrated the church a long time ago." So she has her views, okay? And I did not even know or realize that this was indeed on her own podcast. I thought it was the other way around. I thought she was appearing on someone's podcast, and this was a recent thing. But no, this is actually something that happened a month ago and is now being taken into consideration with this talent agency and that they just dropped her. So this sort of thing has happened a lot lately. And we're seeing it frequently, or not frequently, but we're seeing it, you know, enough times to where you start questioning it because I think this is ridiculous. Now, uh, again, this is just about her agency. I remember a report, I think from Deadline, I'll leave it here if I find it, that she was also part of a film production at the time. And based on that response, the film production decided to fire her as well. So just for appearing or having this guy on her podcast, not the other way around, where she appears on someone's podcast. She brought this person in on her own self regulated podcast, I assume. Crazy. But it's not the first time this has happened. And we're going to kind of go through this and show you some examples very recently of people who have been quote unquote canceled because this actress, she's not going to bounce back, unfortunately, given this climate. And just kind of give you an illustration of how politics can affect things and why I think they should not be the defining factor when it comes to these actors. So we all know, of course, about as we've talked about before, the Scream actress Melissa Barrera. I think that's her name. She was fired from that film, not from the filmmaker, but from the studio Paramount. They decided to let her go due to quote rhetoric that crossed the line into hate speech. And if we take a look at her, actually, I think if we look at this, no, that's well, that's the reason why, because of her vocal points towards the whole Israel conflict that's happening right now. Um, but I just want to find her specific notes of what she said. What did she say? What did she say? I don't think that. Well, uh, according to Variety, at least, we don't have the exact quote, but she was fired for quote showing support for the Palestinian cause. So that was, and I do remember her. I remember partially that being the reason, and uh, for the other actress involved in Scream, Gina Ortega, that's why she left, because she was not in support of that decision. So a second example of somebody who is fired not because of something that they do on set, not because of how they interact with the crew, not because of how they treat people on set, not because of anything else that would be more heinous outside of that. They're not committing crimes, they're not being violent, they're not currently in court. None of that's taking place. They are just simply online giving their opinions. And that is enough, apparently, for these people to be fired, especially especially more so today in a climate where everybody is so willing to express themselves online. You would think that at some point the studios would just go, okay. I mean, even a lot of times it seems like nowadays that they're just kind of okay with that to a certain degree. But once you delve into the realm of politics, then it just everything turns sideways. But we all know about this. And, this was a very unfortunate case. And, again, another example of potentially canceled, because I've yet to hear about this actress since. Now, if we're going to talk more recently, we have to talk about Sydney Sweeney, because she got under a lot of scrutiny because of it started off with an advertisement. If you guys remembered, it was like a jeans commercial, and people thought she was uh, putting up a certain rhetoric, and then people found out about her political point of views. And most recently, that her film came out, a film of hers that came out, Christie, which bombed real hard at the box office, at least domestically. Um, Apparently, Ruby Rose had some things to say in regards to this, and was not a lot to do with the film itself as much as, well, Sydney and her point of views. So she wrote, Ruby Rose, she wrote, quote, "The original Christy Martin script was incredible, life-changing. I was attached to play Cherry. I have no idea if that was a typo or if there actually is a character in the film called Cherry. I don't know. Everyone had experience with the core material. Most of us were actually gay. It's part of why I stayed in acting. Losing roles happens all the time." And I believe what she is saying, uh, like she's saying, like the crew. I think that's what she's probably referring to. Is maybe the crew initially was predominantly that of gay, but for her PR to talk about it flopping and saying Sydney Sweeney did it for quote the people. None of quote the people want to see someone who hates them parading around pretending to be us. You're certain you're a cretin, and you ruin the film. Period. Christie deserved better. So very very deafening, type of thing to say. Um, and um, and I think this is partially due to probably, again, political stuff, which they allege here again because Sidney allegedly has ties to the Republican Party, so that might be where these comments are coming from. So, but apparently, according to Variety, sources with knowledge of the project has actually told Variety that Black Bear was never attached to Christie with Rose involved. So any possible involvement that the actor had with the film occurred before Black Bear joined its development. Another source told Variety that Rose had circled the role of Christie's high school girlfriend in a version of the film prior to Black Bear's involvement. So she's talking about a version of this film that was long before this distributor picked this up. So this is something that was dead for a while, you know. So, you know, but again, another instance where, and in this case too, we have another actress in Hollywood shaming another actress publicly in for no apparent reason, for absolutely no reason whatsoever, just strictly on a political basis, which is not. I haven't seen the film. I don't know if there is that sort of thing embedded into the film, but again, why? I mean, why? And in Sydney Sweeney's case, she has at least a benefit to be a part of projects that will keep her around, like Euphoria, for example, which is a TV show. At least she has that. I heard they recently just wrapped, so at least she has that in the can. But in terms of branching out of on her own, it's hard now because of given what she has to contend with on a political level when it comes to her career, which should not be a factor in this, but unfortunately it is. And people like Ruby Rose will bring that shit up. Oh God, sorry. People like Ruby Rose will bring this shit up, even if makes absolutely no sense to. Now, I think the most infamous case in terms of recent years was, of course, with Gina Carano. And this actually led to a lawsuit because, of course, if you're familiar, Gina Carano was part of The Mandalorian, and she was fired because of a rhetoric that she had put out on Twitter. I'm trying to remember exactly what the rhetoric was. Here it is. So she was fired in 2021 after sharing several controversial social media posts, including one that compared being a Republican to being Jewish during the Holocaust. She was also dropped as a client by the UTA, and then last year she filed suit in California federal court alleging wrongful termination and discrimination, as well as a demand that the court should force Lucasfilm to cast her again and pay at least $75,000 in punitive damages. Then Disney lawyers filed a motion to throw out the lawsuit, and then led to a Twitter debacle for a little bit. And yeah, yeah. I don't know what the exact. I don't know exactly. They I guess they came to a mutual agreement on. They came to some grounds on this. I'm not exactly sure what the details are of this case, but at least there is some silver linings here. At least that she can benefit to some regard. She probably got 75,000. That's 75,000 that she was asking for, or something to that extent, and then that was pretty much it. Or they gave her more money to shut her face. But again, another case of somebody who has their opinions, someone who is representing a particular party, and Hollywood is not happy with it, and they have to push that person aside just because they do not agree with those rhetorics, even if those rhetorics are in fact um, just an opinion at the end of the day. I understand that some people will. I understand some people's livelihoods are just that of politics, and that's all they're ever going to be. And they're not going to be able to make that distinction between a person and their beliefs. They're not always one and the same. Okay, just because I have a certain political view, it does not mean as a person overall, I am now a bad person for thinking that way. That's not how this works. there's nuances to that, and it just seems as though that everybody wants it to be a black and white scenario, at least specifically Hollywood to some extent. They want to be a black and white scenario. The only time that I understand why they would want to drop an actress or an actor because of stuff like this is if they're going online and they're endorsing violence, they're telling people to, like, I don't know, go on a killing spree or something like that, saying something pretty crazy. You know what I mean? Um, that I can understand, but that's not usually what happens here. All these cases I would just list, this actress was her reason why she pretty much lost her career is simply because she allowed someone else to come onto her podcast to talk about their beliefs, not necessarily what she believes, what that person believes. Okay. Then we have Melissa from Scream, Melissa Barrera, I think that's how you say her name, where she went online, made a post about how she felt about the Israel conflict, and that was enough to get her booted from Paramount. Sydney Sweeney, who didn't say anything, as far as I've read, all she did was make a commercial. People went combing through online, found out about, or at least someone found something about her political endorsements, and now everybody's bringing that up, including people like Ruby Rose, because they just think that that person should be booted out. Then we have someone like Gina Carano, who again went on social media, said something, and Disney did not like that. Now, in the case of Gina Carano, I will say this: I do remember them giving her many warnings. They didn't just, this wasn't like the first instance and then bam, you're out of here. Not like these three instances that I brought up with this actress and Scream and the whole Sydney Sweeney thing. And Sydney Sweeney hasn't been canceled, but it's just she's she's walking that thin line right now because of just and the positioning of her career. Also, like I said, she has things like Euphoria and stuff like that that will keep her afloat. If she didn't, then it would be a different story. But in the case of Gina Carano, she was given multiple warnings, I remember, from Disney telling her to stop posting. And as much as I disagree with just people like studios doing that, because at the end of the day, and ultimately what my point is with this video, actors are not defined by their politics. They're not. I know that some people want to go that route, but they're really, really not. It really depends on what you're looking at. If we're talking about their politics, strictly their politics, then that's a whole different conversation compared to watching a movie or whatever and judging them on the merits of their performance, their talent, all of that, their profession. That's what I'm mostly here for. I don't particularly care for these, political discussions. I welcome them in a more, uh, in a different way, but, and strictly in the case of, talking, I guess, in film and in this channel, it's more or less for me, I'm just looking at it more as like trajectory, these people's careers individually, and it's just like the stupidity, with having these political discussions just dictating their every moves. So yeah, so I think that it's just really, I think it's just really ridiculous, you know, that this is happening, in such a fast turnaround. Like I said, Gina Carano, she had her warnings, but these other three actresses that I've mentioned, two of them have gotten the boot, and well, three of them have gotten the boot, but one of them was told to stop talking, or at least to stop making posts. And then one of these actresses, I've seen her, Sydney Sweeney, she is walking a thin line right now. You know, all she has to do is say something in regards to that political discussion, and then depending on what she says about it, then it's just that can really kind of fuck things up. But yeah, it's the sad reality of Hollywood. It's just you have to either keep your head low when it comes to politics, or you got to be right there with them. You got to be right where they are, because if you're not, this is potentially your fate. So yeah, you guys let me know. You guys let me know. Obviously, I get it. This is a controversial type of conversation because once you bring politics into the equation, everything starts going into all sorts of directions. So just keep it civil in the comments. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below in regards to this topic. Do you guys feel that actors and political discussions, do you guys feel like these things should be met in the same place, or do you feel like me, where they should just be completely spaced out and separate from each other and not have them dictate the momentum of their careers, right? I don't think it matters. Like, it's just their opinions at the end of the day. I just find it just sad that their opinions can ultimately be the bombs, the destruction to their own careers. I just think that's ridiculous. I get it, and people can interpret that opinion and they can, look at it and say, yeah, I don't want to associate myself with a person like that if they are saying these things or endorsing these things. I get that. But if it's a financial burden, it's really not. It's not a financial burden. It's just you trying to avoid controversy when really it's just a small fragment of your audience. It's just, I don't know. You guys, what are your thoughts in the comment section below? And asking me for this video, guys, be civil in the comments. Just be nice. I understand political discussions invite sort of aggression, but let's just be civil in the comments, guys. But that's gonna be it for me. Thank you guys for tuning in, and until then, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.